Okay. I'm Mike London, and I am visiting with artists who work in the Miami Valley. And Culture Work supports so many artists and arts organizations throughout the community. And this series is a chance for us to get to meet some of those artists and learn about who's working right here in the county. So today I am speaking with Boy Blue. So, who is an artist working in Montgomery County? But Blue, I'm not going to introduce and do the whole. This is what you've done and everything. I want you to tell everybody who you are as an artist, and then I
Sure.
got questions for you.
I'm excited. I'm excited. So, like you said, well, first of all, good morning, Dayton. Good morning, Culture Works. My name is Boy Blue. I am a local artist. I've been in Dayton for pretty much my entire life, but it's been the past couple of years that I've been really capable of interacting with the community. I do a lot of chalk murals. I do a lot of ink art. Do a lot of portraiture, and people have really caught on to that in the last couple of years. It's been really supportive, especially Culture Works. So I'm happy to have the opportunity to be able to speak to everybody, especially during these unprecedented times. So as an artist, it's a great opportunity to communicate with other people, and I'm glad to have the opportunity with you, Michael, to be able to talk to you and hopefully communicate to the rest of our artistic community. So happy to be here.
So, when you say you work in a number of different mediums, but you're a visual artist, right?
Yes, I'm a visual artist.
Before we even talk about your painting or any of that, I really have a question because um, this is an opportunity for us to get to know the artist, and I happen to know as an artist that you also come from a family of artists. And I'm really curious. I don't know if you and I have talked about this before. We've had lots of conversations, but I don't remember. Do you know, do you know why you're a visual artist and not a musician and not, you know the question I'm asking here.
Yeah. I feel you. Just to give everyone a little background, my family. I have a very big family. For 7 people, and everybody in my family, um, they're all musicians, and I'm the only one that got kind of left out of that flow, that stream of musical talent. No, it's somewhere in me. I haven't unlocked it yet. But yeah, I'm a visual artist. I'm the black sheep of the family, and I've always been that way. Um, the reason I think that I'm definitely more of a contrarian, not on purpose, especially when I was younger. Being a visual artist is a really rebellious thing for us, and it doesn't really sound like it. It's all artists, but I was like, oh, I'm not going to be a musician. I'm going to be this kind of artist. Um, so there was so much artistic influences around me when I was younger. It really was a matter of choosing something and choosing something that was different. I really wanted to play guitar for a long time,
Yeah.
but I just could not do it because my brothers were so much better than I was. It was just discouraging. I was like, oh man, I can't do that. Like, I'm just gonna get shown up every time. So I had to choose something else. I actually started with three-dimensional art when I was younger, and then I moved into two-dimensional art as time went on. So that's kind of like the little background of my whole family. All of the musicians. Mom's a musician, sister, brother, second brother, third brother, other brother. Everybody was a musician, and I needed to find something different, and I found it. So here I am now, only visual artist in the family.
Yeah, you certainly have a gift for it. I know I've seen a wide variety of your work, and one of the questions that I have is if if I'm here in the area and I'm want to see your work, where do I go? How do I see your work?
So the fastest way to see anything that I've created is just to go to boyblue.facebook.com. I
Say
post
that again, Boy Blue,
boyblue.facebook.com.
Facebook.
So that'll
Okay.
just take you straight to my Facebook page. If you're feeling tech savvy and you really want to find the niche stuff that I have, I would go to boyblue at instagram.com. That has definitely the widest collection of my recorded works. I post anything and everything there, so I'm really into unfinished stuff, mistakes, all the stuff goes there. So if you want the unofficial transcript of my works, that's where you're gonna go. If you're if you're feeling niche, if you're feeling savvy, definitely feel free to check out the Boy Blue Instagram page. Um, that's a much more personal page for me because I only post art there, but it's very personal work, and I think it displays more of more of my passion there. But if you're looking for chalk, and you're looking for the nice PC side, definitely go to facebook.com Boy Blue. So that's where I would go.
Has your work changed? I mean,
Oh
do
yeah.
you find that what you're interested in working on today, is it different than what you were working on 5 years ago?
Oh yeah. I found that like I started off and my origins are really strange because I started off as an abstract artist. Like I was just abstract. And I did only abstract for like maybe 5 years, 6 years. Um, and that was kind of like the highlight of things that I do is ink abstract art. And then I think um, around 2012, 2013, um, I started dipping into realism, um, and I started merging those two styles. And I was really into pop art in a traditional sense. That is, we kind of think of Andy Warhol. We think of,
Yeah.
we think of those kinds of artists. And I would do, very objective styles of art that represented something in society during that time period, 2013, 2014. Nowadays, I've taken pop art and I've mixed the principles that are in early Renaissance art to make a strange hybrid between traditionalism and postmodernism. And that's kind of like that's kind of my own style. So now I have a really punky Renaissance art style, which is a really strange to me. That's a very strange combination, but it really highlights something about the way that I create stuff. So like you have like the discipline that the great masters would have in art, but you would have the subjects that affect the common man, and that's kind of what my new art style highlights today.
So
So
what was there anything in particular? Was it that discipline? What was it about that sort of Renaissance, um, if you will, that Renaissance aspect was it? What was it about that took you there?
the Renaissance artists, especially Venetian artists, Italian and Venetian, but Venetian mostly, um, they had a very big highlight on community service, but it was done under the guise uh, of giving praise to the artist. So when they made something and they inputted it into the community, it had a purpose in the community. So whenever they were creating something, they had to be meticulous about it, and sometimes it would take them 30 years to do it. So there was a practice that was involved in art that wasn't just about expression; it was about communication. And that idea about communication really drove me to go into public art, to meet with people, to talk to people about the art that's being created, so that people understand that just like communication, if there's not a receiver, there's not a sender, then art ceases to exist. So both of them have to be highlighted in the relationship. So I was really inspired by, for example, like the Sistine Chapel. I tell this story all the time. It's a really easy one to tell. The Sistine Chapel is a masterpiece, but more importantly, it's a story for people who could not read or could not understand Mass in Latin during the times that they were in. Um, the Sistine Chapel ceiling was a means of illustrating the stories of the Old Testament without people having to understand Latin Mass. And that was 10 times more effective for teaching that particular text than was the actual teacher. So um, even though that was a masterpiece, it was a beautiful piece, the importance of the piece came in its utilitarian process. So that's like that idea by itself, and this goes for a lot of other Renaissance artists. Um, Being in the community and having function, that really drove me to follow that same passion. Because when you're thinking of the whole community, you're more meticulous about what you're doing. Yeah, always, and it's not just about expressing your emotion, what you think. You say, I have a purpose for doing what I'm doing, and I need other people to get the purpose. A certain kind of meticulous nature gets added to your artwork, and I think that's really important. So that's how they influenced me mostly. There's too much I could talk about, when it comes to the style and the technique. But that's like a general way of looking at
It's
it.
fascinating. I'm wondering if, I mean, when you talk about, you know, art and art in the community, how do the people in that you've met when you're in the community, how do they affect what you actually create?
So, strange. That's a good question because I actually a lot of my actual series of works, and even some chalk work actually,
Mhm.
almost everything is based off of somebody I met. Almost everything. So my first series ever um, was a series of sexual violence victims
Mhm.
that I met in the community over the course of 3 or 4 years because I wasn't searching out these people. It just so happened that these were people that I ended up meeting. Um, and, you know, it was a 1920s flapper girl kind of series. And actually, I'm remaking the whole series right now for a client right now, which is why it's on my mind, has been a great opportunity as well. But every single piece that I've done, from things in my sketchbook to large works that hang up in coffee shops, to stuff that's been sold to nonprofits, charities, and even some shop work. They're based off of the faces and personalities of people I've met, all of them. I don't think now there really isn't an example of something that I've just like, you know, I'm just going to throw this out here today. Not based upon anything. That's usually not the case, and that's not the case with almost every artist, even though we make it sound like it is. Um, so the conversations really prompt the art. The story prompts the art. And you know, somebody might be looking at a piece and like, hey, that kind of looks like me. It's probably because it is you. I've been more diverse with that in the lately by taking 3 or 4 people that I've met that really highlight something, and I mash their faces together to get a new person.
Mhm.
Um, so sometimes it's not identifiable, but people inspire me to create things. You know, inspiration comes from other people, from the outside. So they're
So, Blue, what are you working on right now?
right now, I am recreating the 1920s Flapper Girl series that I made in 2016, I think.
Mhm.
And it is such a different process for me right now. It's uncanny because I'm glad that I'm doing it because it's showing how much I've grown in the past couple of years, which I've never been able to really gauge correctly.
Mhm.
Um, and it's been a tough process too because I know what the girls look like. Um, and the originals are littered with idiosyncrasies that I'm fixing. And when I fix them, I'm like, that's not what it looks like, though. I'm like, but I'm doing the right thing. Um, so it's been like a fun little toss up between knowing what you should do and knowing what it's supposed to be, and you know, having to play around with all those factors and anatomical factors, you know, like splashes that are idiosyncratic that really make up the piece. That's been really fun to do. Um, Being able to do that series again is really allowing me to grow. I think I'm learning stuff about my journey by making those pieces. So um, I also have in my I brought, I don't know, my camera's pretty good actually. So I have a sketchbook on me with examples just in case we want to show something later on.
Yeah, well, do that.
Okay,
Let's
awesome.
take a look. Let me see what
Yeah.
you've got.
So I think the best thing to highlight is actually a series of prints that I'm selling right now.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's called the Pseudo Saint series. And they're saints, 1920s newsboys that I have framed in a saint-like fashion to show off vices instead of virtues. So it's called Pseudo Saints because we're highlighting bad things about them that are supposed to inspire us to be a little bit better about ourselves.
Great.
So
Let's take a look.
the first one, hopefully we can see this well enough. I'm going to put this next to my face, make this easier. And I'll scan through it just a little bit. You can see
Yeah.
that it's a traditional ink style with gold leaflets to create the halos around the little boys. Um, every single one of these prints are supposed to represent an icon in the church. But instead, like I said, instead of representing virtue, we're representing a vice. This one in particular represents greed. Um, every single one of the characters that I'm going to show you has been affected by a very adult scenario. So like these children in the 1920s, they didn't have child protection laws or acts. and instead we're subjected to things that only adults should be subjected to.
Right. So right now, I think we've got a freeze frame, which happens sometimes during these interviews. So I'm not quite sure how much we're capturing. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye to Blue for the moment, and we're going to pick him up on part 2. And here we go. We'll be back.